Problem 4, we have a profit function, and it does look like a profit function. This looks like a revenue function, this first part, because there's the demand price times units, subtract, and then this looks like a cost, variable cost and fixed cost. So revenue minus cost, profit function. Make a chart of values for the graph. My X is going to go from 0 to 200. I'll use 40 points again, which means my step will be 5. X will start at my left endpoint, and the next value will be my previous X, plus get a reference to the step and make it absolute. I can copy that down, and 40 points should end at 200. Then my function will be parentheses 521, take away 4 times, get the X value, close parentheses, times, get the X value again, subtract, open parentheses, 15 times, get your X value, plus 603. Copy that down. And I already have my chart set up to be tied to these data. So there's my graph. It looks like I have 2 roots. Let me copy my function to here, paste it in. My first root will be somewhere around 0, but to find it exactly, I'll bring up the solver, set this cell to a value of 0 by changing this X value, solve. Okay, 1.2. My other root looks like it's somewhere around 120 about. Let me copy this function reference down and then pull up solver. And notice again that it keeps the instructions from the last time I used it. So let me update that. Set the objective, this cell, to a value of 0. That's still the same. By changing that cell, 125. Find a relative max and a relative min. Well, there's one relative max that I can see from the graph. It looks like it's at about 70. I'll start there and then copy my function down. Bring up solver. Set this objective cell to, now I want to change to a maximum by changing my X value and solve. Local max at 63.25. Local minimum, there's one at 0 and there's one at 200. Okay, now I do want to show you this. If I asked Excel to find a relative minimum, let me copy my function value down. And if I put in something like 200, and then I ask solver to find it, set this cell to a minimum value by changing that cell, and I hit solve. I come up with an error, and that's because I haven't given any constraints to Excel. And so it just took this function and it just kept going and going and going and going. And it never did find a minimum because it always got smaller. So if I redo this, set this to a minimum by changing, if I click on, got this an old constraint in there. Let me delete that and put in a new one. My new constraint is that my X coordinate has to stay less than or equal to 200. Now if I ask it to solve, now it ends at my endpoint. It hit the constraint. So my absolute maximum occurs at 63.25, and the absolute min occurs at 200. And my graph was graph 3.